Okay, so as you can see, we've got a little bit of masking done. What we've done, we've just got some sponge, cut it to the right size and slipped it in. Now, it's not a perfect fit because obviously we've got some areas at the back here you can probably see that are going to need to be redone in this back gun area, but 90% of it is all masked up and I don't have to worry about getting any overspray down there. But we're going to be shooting it on the level a lot of the time, so we're not going to be directly right in there. So I'm not too worried about things like that. As I say, we've gone around it and had a good look. We've looked for any fingerprints that are sticking out and bits and pieces like that. And if they have, we've just popped along with the polishing sanding stick, polished them up and got rid of them. I had a little tiny one down here, to be honest, things like that. They're the ones we want to get rid of. Now this gear is on, but it's not fixed. It's just to literally take the weight off of the actual main fuselage and make it a little bit easier to work with. Same time as we said, we've got these all done. We've installed these. We've had to put a little bit of filler just down in here. Been running around with it because when it sinks down and everything's all done and said, it left a bit of a groove, so we did pop a little bit of filler down in there, but quite a straightforward job. So okay, over to the spray bay as we are now. What we want to do is get on and give this some primer. The primer then we can look at and have a good look to make sure there's no fingerprint marks, nasty gaps. Obviously we're looking at seam lines perhaps we've dealt with before, so we've got this one down the back here that we've actually done. We now know that one's okay because we can see, but we need to check all the others and make sure they're all right. I've got a tiny little one appeared down the bottom here. This is caused by natural shrinkage. What happens is the actual plastic gets soft and then the actual putty that we've put over it, and as time goes by, it all shrinks down and pulls in. One way to stop that happening is to use something like a super glue, because that dries rock hard, no shrinkage, but certainly you might find over the days it comes in. So we've got a small one down here which we just need to take care of. So you can come along right now and do it before we get going or do it afterwards. So you just pop along and we're just going to re-sand this down. And just look for the actual joint and see if we can sand our way and get rid of it that way. Okay, obviously because it's on the bottom it's not too much of a problem, but we still want to make it all very nice down here. So as we sand it away straight away, if we just bring you a little bit closer, you might be able to see, you can see it just coming in there just a little bit. So obviously what it's happened is it's actually all sunk looking at it. It's just pulled in a little bit as we went round. So all we do, we're just going to, as we see it, sand it right here, right now. And we just hopefully be able to sand it out without actually having to come in with some filler or anything too drastic at this late stage. Because obviously what we want to do is get on with the painting. So hopefully we can come along. It feels quite smooth, but what I'm just going to use a rougher file just to speed things up. So you just pop in there, as you can see we've got the filler coming through again. But what we're hopefully going to do is just rip this all out. Okay, just like that. Oops. In with the smoother files. We've got this one here as more of a finishing type file. Okay, then we just pop along then with our sanding sponges. Okay, and we're just going to work right the way through these to make sure, and then we can get on and finish off repriming. Okay, so we've tidied up those bits as we said, taken care of them. We've redone the bottom one and we had a tiny little blemish up here at the top, so we've done that. So what we're going to do now, we've got some XF19, just going to use it as a thinner, as a primer. 50-50 mix, we are shooting at approximately 25 psi, so quite high. Just check our flow, happy with that. What we're going to do, we'll start on the underside. Okay, we've done a bit of this already, so we'll just continue doing what we've done. So we're just going to literally whip around everywhere. Okay, nice generous coat, obviously with undercarriage as well. Okay, right the way around. Okay, and we're just going to continue just along the sides a little bit. As I say, just really working our way around. I say, if it looks too wet, okay, stop, put it down just for a minute, let it dry, just a section, just to, you know, sort of helping on its way. I've redone the wings as well because I had a couple little blemishes with them. Same thing goes, saw it as I was doing it, dried it off, sanded it, took care of it. So what I'll do now is basically just going to continue just a little bit and just build up gently this primer right the way over the model, going around absolutely everywhere. Okay, and if you see any big fingerprints and that, stop, dry it, take care of it now, because obviously we don't want to be messing around with gaps and things once we've got in there. Okay, there's my first colour cup done. So what we're going to do is very carefully pick this up. We'll turn it round. Okay, back in with some more paint. It might need 2 coats to do this one, because obviously what we're going to do, we're going to pop along and we're going to do some pre-shading to it to sort of help with the weathering. So we're just going to build it up, covering all this PE work quite nicely, nice and even if we can. Okay, been dry now for about sort of 20 minutes, so it's totally handleable. Now we've had a good look round and we're looking for any imperfections. As I said, we've got these ones at the top which we've taken care of up here, and obviously down on the spine. That's all done nicely like that. There's no fingerprints, there's no obvious blemishes, scratches in the paintwork, sanding, marks, fingerprints, anything else like that, all nice and smooth. Same goes for the wings, these leading edges are all nicely done, and anywhere else, obviously we did a little bit of filler work on the edges, things like that, all absolutely fine. So it's all had a nice coat of primer, so we're just looking around, checking, making sure we're happy, because what we see here is obviously going to transfer onto the model once it's all been painted. Okay, so we've got a few little different techniques for doing weathering. Obviously I'm going to try and keep this somewhat clean. I'm not going to go to town and give it masses of grime and dirtiness, purely because it's a string bag sort of aircraft, as we said before. It's quite a classic design. So what I want to do is give it sort of a medium type of sort of weathering effect. Now in order to do that, because we're dealing with a lighter colour, such as in light greys, and certainly on this one's going to be almost a white, what we're going to do is do something called pre-shading. Now pre-shading is basically by putting black paint on the lines of anywhere that's raised. What this will do will actually transfer. When you put your next coat on, in our case it's going to be almost white, it will show through as a stain or a shadow or something like that, and it will give the paintwork some depth. Now don't panic about this if you haven't done it before. We're not looking for perfect lines, we're not looking for exactly the same line every time. We're looking to keep it quite random. We want sort of blotching, thin, getting thicker, and it will just give us a better line. So what we've got here, I've already knocked it up. We've got a 50-50 mix of paint and thinners. Now this is just normal standard flat black paint. In my case we're using XF1 Tamiya, 25 psi. We've got the 0.2 needle in here. So all we're going to do, we're going to come around and we're just going to pick out anywhere that's got a line. So in our case what we're going to do, we're going to do some of these back, and we're doing it very much as freehand. So we're going to come in and give it like that. Okay, we want it to be nice and faint. We don't want a sharp line. We're looking for a faint line. Something just like that. As I say, it's quite random. You know, you get thick, thin, it's quite fuzzy on the edges because we need it to blend in. If we did a tight, sharp line to it, you know, what would happen is that we'd come along, put our paint over it, and you would see it shining through very, very brightly. So what we're going to do, we're just going to place this, if we do it this way, okay, and then all we're going to do is just going to pick out some of the areas. Like this, because obviously we've got this boxing effect going around it. So this is something we're trying to get in to do. So we're going to come along. Okay, we've got these little steps. So we're going to shade them up, just like so. Okay, getting in there like that. And then obviously we're going to come, we've got a panel line running in here. Okay, now these are all getting quite a bit of paint, as you can probably see on it, just like this. The rest of it, when we come to do it, so if I just make myself a little stand here, use a little pot. Okay, move you in a little bit, you can see. Then what we're going to do, we've got the ribbing running down the side. We want to keep it quite faint. Now I can't see it exactly brilliant either. Okay, so what we're trying to do is just going to pull it down. And to be honest, I can't see it too well. because of the lighting that we've got here. So we're just going to balance this all up a little bit so I can see how it's all running. Okay, and what we're going to do is just going to follow very lightly the line down. Like that, and that's all we're going to do. We're going to keep it quite light. Obviously it carries on down, but it's getting fainter. Okay, so if we just pop it here, hopefully we can just see how it runs down. And it sort of just goes down and fades out, so we're doing the similar thing. So as you can see, we're boxing these little areas here. Grime working up here. And there we go, just like that. So we're going to carry on around absolutely everywhere, putting in big thick panel lines where it's required, and we do little thin ones you know, where there are. So anywhere it's got ribbing, it's quite a fainted line. Same as obviously we're doing the wings, they'll be quite faint. Anywhere that's got more of like a panel going in there, something like that, we'll obviously come along, and then what we'll actually do is put them in a little bit heavier. So I'm going to work my way around the rest of the aircraft now. Okay, so the next sort of headache we come across when we're doing these is obviously getting the colour right for the actual underside of the actual Swordfish. Now, when you look at different references and different pictures, it looks like it's just white. Obviously, the particular kit, this one calls out for it being sky. If you used to paint it sky, it would end up being this colour, which is like a duck egg type of green. Far too strong. It's nothing like that at all. On the other hand though, it's not quite a white. Now if you look at some of the other aircraft that are around at the moment, especially air shows and in museums, they are just white, but certainly I just want to change the tone just a little bit. So what I've actually done is I've got a mix here and made up this one. Now all this is a mix of probably 80 to 85% white, flat white, with basically, as I say, sort of 10 to 15% of sky in there. I've made up a full bottle of this because, you know, probably do a few more of these hopefully in the future. So by knocking up a full bottle, I'll transfer, I'll put a label around it, and away we go. It's just neat. There's no thinners in it at the moment, so we'll have to thin it and move on as we go. So that gives you your sort of colour you're after, or the colour that I'm sort of after. Now what we've got to do is paint this. Obviously it's not so bad on the actual main aircraft itself, pretty straightforward. It's all going to be roughly all done everywhere, then it'll just be the top parts that are going to be separate. The wings on the other hand, this is where you have to make your decision, as what we were talking about earlier. Do you do your white now, put this on, or do you do the dark? You could do the camo work on top and then mask it completely off and then do the undersides, or whichever way you really want to do it. It's totally up to you. The wings are a lot easier to do than obviously the body, because we've got these to do the undersides, everything else. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the white and then mask up this strapping round here, and then we can get in there and put some colour in the bottom part for that, and then at the top. So it'll take a little bit of masking up there. So if we just crack on for the minute for the actual underside of these wings to show you. Now the thing with these are, let's get these out. What we've actually got here is this mix. Because we're going over pre-shading, we want it to be somewhat lighter and thinner, so it shows through. So all that nice pre-shading will show through. So what we're going to do is a bit over 50-50 mix to thinner to paint. So we've probably got more sort of 75% thinners to paint on there. Okay, then we give this a good old mix. As I says, it looks like it's probably white on the camera. Under these lights it makes it look a little bit more funny, but I've done a test piece and it seems to be roughly the type of colour I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a strong white, and then obviously we're going to weather it with washes and things anyway. So there we go, that's that one done. Let's move that out of the way. Okay, shooting our paint exactly as normal. Checking our flow rule in, we're about 20 to 25 psi. Okay, quite thin paint. So what we're going to do is just lightly blow this on. And as we can see, it's a little bit speckly, so already I'm thinking it's probably a little bit too thick. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to tip some back into the colour cup, clean off the side. Okay, add a drop more thinners into the mix, just like that. Okay, give it a good old mix again. What's probably happened, to be honest, where I've been shaking the paint to mix it, it gets quite aerated and it thickens it up just a little bit. So what we need to do now is blow through that paint. So the thin stuff starts to come out. Okay, that's through. So now we can carry on. Okay, nice, that's better. So what we want to do is sort of lay it down quite evenly, right the way over. Okay, just like that. And as you can see, if we dry it down, the pre-shading will show through again, a lot more stronger. So you want to sort of lay down a quick coat like this. Okay, get into these areas. Okay, and then cut to air, dry it down, and go right over it again. And hopefully, as you see, the pre-shading comes through, and depending on the camera how well it picks it up, just like that. What I'm going to do is just turn the air pressure up just a touch, just to something like that. Okay, so we're going to do all this strut work as well. We're going to paint all of this at the same time. Going back over anywhere that's a little bit not showing through as we'd like. Great thing with these, we can lay them down and putting this over. Now if you're not happy with the colour, obviously we can change it right now. Everything else. So now's your time to sort of have a think about if you're happy with how it is. There we go, that's one section done like that, which is looking that, it's probably not the best way. So as I say, we can do all the wings like that. Exactly the same for the underside as well. Getting in and just spraying it all lightly, and as I say, building up layers. So don't worry about the very, very top, because we won't have to worry about that, because that's going to be masked up and painted a different colour. So let's lay this down. So quite a wet mix this. There we go, that's one colourful done. So we're just going to continue doing this now. Okay, so the entire thing now, all this white work has been drying overnight. I wanted it to go overnight, so that way it's nice and hard and you can handle it without the risk of putting fingerprints in it and things like that. So you can see we've masked up. We've just used a little bit of 6mm first of all to get the nice curves in the front here, because up here this is going to be all black, and then moving further back this is going to be in camo pattern. So all we've done, we followed the panel line section in part of the instructions. We've got a gentle curve on the back, and the easiest way I did that was literally we just had a bit of, we just pull this one off. We just had a bit of the 8mm, stuck it down to the bottom, and then all I did was place a pot over the top and then just cut round it. It gave us a nice curve, which then obviously we've got the rest of it is on there, giving us that like that. Now looking at the instructions, it says that this is black and with the grey and not the green, but then you look at the real thing and it looks green, so personal preference on that. Might be worth checking all your references first. We put a little bit of tape up just round the back here, just to protect these, but we'll touch them in afterwards by hand. So what we're going to do now is just spray it black. So if we just get some flat black paint. So we're going to use Tamiya XF1. Bit of a shake. Now we're going to squirt this neat, hence why we're quite heavily masked up. So we'll just pop some in the colour cup, just like so. So we're just straight from the bottle. We're not going to need much, so we're just going to put a little bit in. Okay, we'll just check our flow. Let's say it's neat, 25 psi, something like that. And all we're going to do is just very carefully, we're just going to pop this in. Try and get an angle so you can see it as well, and just work it round. just round the other way. Just move these little tabs out of the way. Now we're keeping it quite random because we want it to look quite patchy, but we've got to make sure that the photo etch parts are well covered. So it's just worth coming in from different angles and bits and pieces like that. So we're just going to brush this nose again. There we go, that should do us quite nicely. So we're just going to, obviously a lot of these bits we can do by hand, but by spraying it neat just like this, what it actually does, it stops it from bleeding underneath the actual masking tape, so it's a nice crisp line when we pull away. So if we just cut to air now and dry this back a little bit, we can just have a quick unmask and see what we've got. Check, so we've got a little bit of a patchiness just on this edge. So that's why it's important, as I said, to come around from all the angles. Okay, happy with that. So what we can do now, very carefully, we'll reuse these masking, so keep hold of them because they're only lightly stuck on here. We're just going to move that one down because it's stuck under the other one, and then hopefully we should be able to just hook this one round up. And there we go. That gives us our nice line of our finish like that, and then what we'll do, we'll continue and paint this back end and get that one done, and we're all sorted. But we're quite happy how that's looking. It's a nice gentle curve that we was looking for on there. So what we've got to do now is marry that up to the front part as well, which we've already got done just here. So we just need to mask this up, put this one on as well, so we get both of those done. So that gives us a feel of how it's going to be and where to mask to. So what we do is I'll just give this a bit of a sort out and a clean up. Just checking the references, and it does look like it's black in this area. So what we're going to do, we're going to spray that black as well whilst we're here. And we've got the paint on the go. So exactly the same as we did the front. Okay, just check your references for how it sort of goes. So what we're going to do, just roughly in here for the moment, and we'll tidy it up with the grey, but it sort of swings its way across, something like that. The rest of it is just going to be flat black, so makes it somewhat easy. Okay, so moving on now to the camo work. Now obviously what we're going to do, we can do the top of the wings, as I say, and the bottom part. We've got one done here. We've already put the grey on. So the grey can literally go on straight over your actual pre-shading. Exactly the same way as we did for the white. So what we want to do is slightly thin it a little bit, just so the pre-shading shows through. Now, it's always a good idea to have your layout of your instructions of how you want your paint guide. I pop mine up here, so it's the same rotation as I've got the one actually in front of me. And all we're going to do is roughly, and it can be very rough at this point, we don't have to be too neat at all, follow it round. So if we sort of go this type of pattern, okay, something like that, and then obviously we've got this one that runs roughly something like this, and what that does just gives us an outline, and what we can do, we can build on that. So all we're going to do is colour this in. Okay, so we're shooting this very high air pressure, 25 psi, Okay, but we're keeping it rotated like this and shooting straight across, so that way we get a nice edge on this edge, and we don't have to worry about masking up because the paint will naturally just go straight past. And because it's on a nice big flat surface like this, you don't have to worry too much. What we do want to do is go slightly further over onto the green area, because the green will cover the grey a lot easier, as you can imagine. So what we want to do is just make sure we've gone a little bit too far. Okay, and as I said, this isn't too worried about how it's going to look or anything else like that, because we'll tidy it all up afterwards. As long as we're too far, we'll be okay. So I'm quite happy with how that is. So if we just leave that to one side for the moment, we can grab the other wing. Okay, so this one, as I said, comes across from the front. So a little bit of paint spillage on the top. You could rub that down, but I'm not worried about it. We're going to go straight over that. So what we're going to do, we're just going to run down in here. As I said, slightly over, so this entire box wing area is going to be grey. So we'll just lightly colour that through. So we'll just continue with this grey work. Okay, so now all that grey work's done, what I want to do is just give it a little bit of weathering. So I've got quite a bit of grey left here in the colour cup, so we're going to tip a lot of that back, keeping just probably 0.5 mil in the actual colour cup. Just clean the side up. Okay, pop the lid on that. Then what we're going to do is take some of that underside colour that we've got here. We're just going to add a drop, so we've got about a 50-50 mix in that pot. Okay, then I'm going to come along with thinners and just double the thinness. So if you've got 1 mil left in there, we're going to up that to 2. In that case, probably got 0.5 mil, so we've upped it to 1. Then all we'll do, we'll take our colour and we're just going to give it a good old thin. Still shooting at the same high air pressure of about sort of 25 psi. Okay, as you can see, we're very much lighter colour, and all we're going to do is try and give this a little bit of a weathered look. So if you can see down here, if I colour in an area, you should see the new colour come in next to it. It's a totally different shade, but it's a nice mix. So what we're going to do is just very lightly blow in between the ribs, because the ribs we put the black on the top, so this wants to go right in between. So we're just going to very quickly just put one line in between into the recess of it, so it just sort of lightens it out. And I don't know how well the camera is actually going to pick that up, but all we're trying to do is just put one line in the row. So we've just gone down it and just sort of lightened it up just a fraction. So we'll do the same with all the others. So I'm just hoping it gives a sort of a bleached effect to it, and that's the plan and the reasons for doing it. So we'll just do this wing one here. Okay, same down these. So if you've seen where I do, like on aircraft, I tend to put the centres of panels, we lighten them up. Just done exactly the same with this as well. Then obviously what we'll do the same with the green to give it a sort of lighter look. Now this is still quite wet, this one, but we'll take a risk. So what I'm going to do, this centre high area here, this flat one, we're just going to bleach out the centre of that a little bit. Just like that. And there we go. So we get this sort of bleached in, lightened look to it, and then obviously you could perhaps pick out a little area you wanted to do just to make it a little bit lighter. And it is just that thing of trying to stop it looking so boxy. You know, and give it a little bit more depth to your paintwork and make it look a lot nicer as well. So we'll just do this one. And there we go. Hopefully you can see the difference with the pre-shading and that. It just gives it a nice texture. Then what's going to happen is we're going to come along afterwards with some pigment and just lightly brush over the top, and hopefully it will really bring it all to life and give it some nice sort of lift to that, you know, the actual sort of texture of the paintwork and everything. So I'm quite happy with that. So what we're going to do, we're going to get cleaned up and get ready for the green.